Going to continue working on artwork for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration supplement that we will be publishing online as soon as it's done. So give me a second to check my signal. I'll go through my intro spiel and then we'll start to get to work. Let's see, checking signal. Checking check, 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 checking check, 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 check. Check. Sound square. Okay, cool. Get things set up here to dive into chaos. Introduction. Hey, my name's Theurgy. I create role-playing game supplements and I publish them online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. There is a link to, there's a slew of links in the description down below to work that I've already published online through DMsGuild.com. If you want to go down and take a look at some of that stuff, it's all 100% free preview. You can read everything cover to cover before you decide to buy if you happen to want to buy any of it. That'd be awesome. There's about 150 different illustrations throughout those books. Including covers, interior art that you can check out and give you an idea of the kind of work that I do in general. And let's see. There's that. There's that. Publish, publish, publish. Cool. If you want to find out when I'm live in the future, you can follow me on Twitter at Philkearney, Filkearney, like in the description down below. I also have a Patreon that you can help support my efforts of creating more artwork and doing more blah-de-blah. But honestly, the best way to support the channel right now is to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so I can continue to grow and push out signal that what we are doing. So what are we doing? Dungeons & Dragons released a supplement last year called Adventures in Spelljammer, Adventures in Space. It's a legacy IP from the early 90s. It's basically ships in space, different ships made of different materials like metal, wood, ceramic, crystal, stone, whatever. It's a variety of different types of ships. You fly around, you fight each other, you go to different worlds, you have adventures. Bob is your uncle. So the Adventures in Space was very thin on actual mechanical content about how ships work, how do you explore space, how do you interact with things using a ship as basically a mobile fortress, as well as a downtime location, a safe house for you, as well as a combat vehicle. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done with these, and we touched on a lot of that stuff. We have a 108-page document here called Combat and Exploration, and we're going to start. We are on episode, what is this, 4? We started doing a little bit of work on some interior art, page art, and then we realized we had to do tokens, so we went on a 1-month lark, we went on a 2-month lark to create 65 tokens, ship tokens, creature tokens, NPC tokens. Now all the tokens are done. We can actually start doing page art again. So I'm going to start that process with you guys. Just for awareness, let's see. 621 wingdings. There we go. So let's look at the document we have at hand. The actual Word document. Welcome back. I don't need to be welcome back. Thank you. While that's resolving itself, where is Bob, Uncle? There we go. Right. So we have a lot of pages. We already started building some of the interior art pages over here, as you can see in the past episodes. I want to say around episode 80. The book cover we created around episode 15, so go check that out. But we have 108 pages of document here. The back 26 pages is a conversion guide for Light of Xaryxis using these mechanics that we created. So the tokens that we've been creating for the NPCs has all been for using in Light of Xaryxis, but we actually have to build out the mechanics, all the page art for the actual mechanical first 86 pages of the book to be able to make this thing flow smoothly. So, or for it to actually be done, right? So today we're going to focus our attention on the spellcasting section. So I'm gonna come on down here. We go to, let's get past the ship weapons and how squadrons work, and let's just get into spellcasting. Just raw, unadulterated spellcasting. Maintain a ship and crew. We'll get into all of this, making repairs. Spellcasting. So here we go. Starting on page 47, we have spellcasting, and that flows till page 56. It's basically a crash course on how to amplify spells to affect ships. So what we're going to do right now is we have a separate PDF that we created of this chapter specifically, just like this, no dressing yet, no background, no illustrations. That's our job. So I'm going to come into here, and we built a separate PDF document that extracted these 10 pages specifically. After spellcasting is exploration, and we go into the exploration chapter, which we'll deal with separately. So I'm going to break these things up into chapters. This 10-page chapter is how spellcasting works. So we're going to click OK. And we're now going to extract 10 pages of 10 pages here. See, how am I going to do this? So yeah, we're going to first extract the pages, and we're going to drop them into a common document. Let's see, production 6, production 7, production 8, production 9, production 10. 9. So I'm just going to stack these guys up and see if this works out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Buy the book cover. Outline this, copy, paste. Sits pretty. Get rid of 1, equals no. I should have extracted all of this first, but here we are. So this is what we're doing. I'm going to extract these pages. I'm going to drop them into a common document so we can start illustrating stuff. So copy, paste, 2, 1. No. Oh boy, how exciting, huh, Phil? Sorry about that. This is production. This is a production pipeline. This is the work that I do. It's not very sexy right now, but once we get through this stuff, once we have all the pages on board, we'll be able to actually start looking at the where where illustrations make sense, which illustrations make sense. And then we're going to close this one, equals no. Then here, background like this, here. I don't think we won't need illustrations on every page of the document, but we're going to have a lot of illustrations. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to do line art through the entire process, like sketches. We'll have to sketch the entire book, and then we'll have to clean up the art for line art for all of the book, and then we'll do the color flats for all of the book, and then we'll do shade and form lighting for all of the book. It has to we have to move it. We have to move in plates like that, like in phases, because like I was talking about on stream yesterday. During a larger project, I'll go through an evolutionary process of either improving a process or how I'm illustrating, or the look of my illustrations. And if I evolve my coloring style in the middle of doing, like if I've done 20 illustrations, front to end, complete, next page, if I go through that process and I evolve in the middle of it, it could be that the first 20 pages end up looking different from the last 20 pages because of some stylistic change that happened during that process. And it's really difficult. I don't know if you've ever experienced this for yourself or not, but it is really difficult to ignore a change in style or how you do your work when you're going through a style change like that. So it's really hard to, what the fuck? What is going on with, okay, we'll have to come back and take a look at that. There's something wonky about that going on. No. There's something weird about page 7. That is faux show. We're going to copy that. We're almost done with this copying process, so 8. Page 9. Then copy here. All right, what a mess. We have all 10 pages on the in the same document now, which means that well, we can build out tools and symbols and stuff. G, put a lock on that. There, so we have, as you can see, it's not fully, I think there's a, let's go to open, let's go to interior pages, 1 to 10. No. Open. No, wrong section. Let's go to File, Open, Production, Workbench. No. Cancel. Open. Where is that? Sorry guys, hold on. Trash. Yeah, no. All right, well, I'm just going to leave that be for now. So let's go ahead and ungroup all of these. We're going to make folders for each of these. Burp, 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 burp. I should set a timer. I don't have a timer set. I should totally have a timer. Timer. All right. Let's see. All right, so actually, let's add all these back in so we can take a look at the problem in general of what we're working with. So here's how all the this entire chapter stacks over each other, right? Like if you lined up all the pages, they were all transparent. This is how the stack sits, which means that we now have a border here at the bottom of the page, the top of the page, and then our margins, and then gutter. That's the anatomy of a page, essentially. So what we need to do is something that needs to happen, not necessarily right now, is we have to build out what the gutter art and border art is going to look like for the entire document. And I have thoughts and ideas about what we can do. We could potentially do like a bottom runner. I'm gonna just put something down there for now, and let's just take this to black. Black, white, black. Great. We could do something. Hey, how you doing, Hernetico? So we could have like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 9, appendix 1, appendix 2. We could have a runner down there, right? And so depending on which chapter we're in, we could have like a highlight. Like this is, what are you all about? Like spellcasting, for instance, is, let's see, equipment, combat, like here, spellcasting. Like we could theoretically like blot this one in and then leave those blank. And then like when we move into exploration, we could then blot this one in. So you have a navigating tool down here along the bottom as a rail, like a navigation rail that we can, boy, this would be a massive, actually we might be able to automate this. Actually, we could build, in Word, I closed Word to keep it, nope, there it is. What I could do in Word is create a shape that runs this bottom rail like this, and then build shapes, like have all these shapes, and then inside of that oops. We could, for instance, go to add text, and then we can actually, what I want to do is like for instance, the letter O. It's a circle, so we can then take that letter O. And then line space options, line spacing options, add, line break, insert, break here, special, indentation, spacing. And maybe take it down like, anyway, something like that, right? So then we take this and we copy here, and then here, here, here. Like this, right? We're dropping in circles here that would correspond with here. And then what we can do is we can highlight it here, make a hyperlink. Let's say DMsGuild.com. There. Now, in the illustration, when you line your mouse up along the rail here to these different points, they're now hyperactive links that if you click, do you want to continue? Yes. Cannot open the file. All right. So, but like you said, this would click and it would take you to another page in the document. So we can create a table of contents along the rail here. Where did that go? Yeah, you get it. So when we're building the page layout, that could be a separate, illustration that we build. So something went wonky. All right, so that's something we have to think about. We don't necessarily have to do anything about it right now, but it's on the horizon. Next question is, do I need page numbers at the bottom of the book? Technically, no. It's a PDF, it's hyperlinked, and each page is self-identified inside of the document while you're scrolling through it because it's a PDF. But Phil, what about people that want to print it? This book isn't meant to be printed. That's on you. You can go ahead and do that if you want, but I am seriously not going to cry for you if you decide to print out this whole book and then have a complaint that there's no page numbers at the bottom of it. Get out of here. I don't think that's an issue. I could change my mind and recant at any time, but I don't intend to currently. So I'm going to hush that. But yeah, I think that rail is a good idea. Will I need anything along the borders? Potentially not. But I like that railing idea, so I'm going to keep that. That eliminates that way I can just have a generic plate that I put through all of them. I don't have to worry about all the dressing of like putting the page number down. Anyway, the page numbers can be a pain in the ass. So I've experienced pains in the ass before with the page numbers, and I don't really feel they do anything to help us. But having that navigation rail at the bottom of the page I like it. I really want to lean into that with this one. So there's that. We are going to. I do need to though establish boundaries. I need to create some boundaries here on the document. So I'm going to take black, and I think I'm going to just take my square tool. Where are you? Here you are. Let's drop the opacity, baby. Oop. Oop. Burp. Burp. We'll create active areas. So this should be our effective active area. Let's merge that down. Then drop the opacity. There. So while we're working on this piece, we know that if we bleed out into these borders, we're in our risk area, and we should absolutely stay away from the bottom rail because that is where we're going to put our navigation bar. We could theoretically put our navigation bar down the side here, but I honestly think I just want to leave that space open for illustration nonsense. So that is establishing boundaries. I'm going to conceal this because there was something weird going on, and I want to take a look at what that weirdness is. That's okay. That's okay. Is it up here? Yeah, it's got these weird blocks of text. What the fuck is up with that? Are these things highlighted? So I have to go into my document. So I don't see any colors, so things like this I can miss. But there's a weird blockness going on here that I don't understand. That's 102. While also 100. Why does that have a white highlight behind it? Where are we on? We're on page. We're looking at 6th level spells, has a weirdness to it. Does anything else have a weirdness to it? Looking for weirdness right now. Yeah, there's weirdness here too. White background. And maybe I just accidentally highlighted a white background or something. Yeah, there's full of weirdness. Let's get into the chapter and see if we can find that. Waiting for the zoom function to work. I hit control and then I spin my wheel and that changes page view zoom on the document as a whole. There we go. Click into place there. Let's go find what's going on with this. Lightning arrow, spirit shot, like the titles on this thing are highlight. Is that a common feature? Nope. The titles and stuff aren't highlighted over here, so there's something weird going on with that. 8, 7. No color there. Font color, underlining, outline, font color. So that's good. Advanced, space, preview, font. Cancel. Huh. Is there some sort of effect on it? Yeah, I don't understand what that is, but I need to get rid of those blocks. I need to figure out how to get rid of those blocks so I don't end up screwing around with my image. So let's go to my updates and revisions. You're right, I need to clean up the spell amplifier language. Result. These are all the tactical changes that needed to happen throughout the document to make sure that I had consistent language throughout the thing when we were in pre-edits. So I need to go in and clean up the language on that because I had some inconsistencies. Next thing I need to do is figure out the weird highlighting blocks behind text in the spell casting section. That'll get us through today. Let's go back to block. So right now we're just doing sketches. So we settled for this little arrow format here. And I'm pretty happy with how just to delineate one thing from another. So let's go back to the front. We're going to just do some sketchy stuff. So we're amplifying. So there's spellcasting, right? This is a section of the book. You can amplify spells. So amplifying spells. So you can read along here with me. We'll take a moment here to just look at these sections. You can pause them and look at them on your own time if you want. But this is stuff this is the actual pages of the book that we're extracting from the Word document, dropping into Photoshop so that we can paint and modify the pages. And then when we're done with it, we can get rid of the text. Like if I'm going to come down into here and I'm going to create page art for this page, we're going to have our illustration here, and when that's done, we remove the text. We extract this as a page image, and then we drop it into the background of the Word document. Or we build a specific square, like insert. I think what we're going to do with this one is we're going to build insert shapes. No. Insert shapes square. Something like this. We'll create a block like this, and then we'll drop the illustration in. So we can build a background texture color for all the pages so they're not just blunt white. And once we build that background, then we can instead have specific, like 300 dpi high resolution images here as spot art. Spot art, spot art, spot art, spot art. Thin rail spot art, spot art, spot art, spot art. Probably gonna leave that as white space for breathing room. Spot art, spot art. So lots of spots for art. But that's probably the format we're gonna go with. I think that's gonna help make sure that the document size isn't colossal by using a low grade 150 dpi 8.5 by 11 page background texture with just like off gray, like very mild off gray stuff, just to give just to give a little bit of grit to the page and not have just glaring white all over the document. And then, like I just said, once we actually build out these illustrations, we'll be able to get out of here. We'll be able to do little cut pastes. We'll be able to cut this like this. This will be the same shape as this. So we'll be able to cut this out and get the size of the, if I were to copy and then file, new, enter, paste. See, there's my illustration. And now in the image, I get the image size and I get the specific size of the image. So we can then come back into here and we can go to shape format and we can go to image size over like that, and then copy. Oh, I did that backwards. Like that. Give me another 20 minutes. That's width, and then this is shape format. There. That's the shape that we have here. So now we have true size. Anyway, that's the thought process. So as we go through this illustration process here, we'll know what we can actually shift button. I need a new keyboard. What I need. What the fuck is going on? There we go. Why am I? Yeah, select none, thank you. Why are you not deselecting? There's something wonky doodle going on. There's some weird, oh, that's why. There. Nope, there's definitely some tomfuckery going on. Deselect, B, draw, delete. I'm going to spellcasting. I'm going to save this real quick and end it. Because there's some. My computer's trying to upgrade to Windows 11, and honestly, I'm terrified about that. Just to be completely frank. I do not like the idea of Photoshop or of Windows just dumping a completely new operating system onto me. We'll see. We'll see how that shit shakes out. Okay, great. So amplifiers, what's up with that? So there's spells, there's spell casting in general. You're a pilot or you're a passenger on the ship, you're flying around, you're going to want to cast spells. You're wanting to cast spells at ships. You're going to want to cast spells at creatures. You're going to want to just cast spells. So the problem is that spell casting is built for creatures at the 5-foot scale. And with this document, we could potentially be engaging things that are miles away. So it's going to be difficult for you to detect magic if something is miles away. So we have to have some sort of an amplification method for us to be able to deal with just the sheer scope and size of movement in combat in space. So our solution is amplifying. So amplifying spells. Spellcasters can modify a spell to increase the scale of range, area of effect, and damage while focusing on a spell amplifier, which includes spell jamming helms, active wild space orrery stations, and arcane cannons. While focusing on an amplifier, a spellcaster can increase the scale of the spell by spending additional spell slots. So let's modify an amplifying spell. The additional spell slots spent amplifying the spell can either be a higher spell slot than the level of spell cast, or combined with a first or second level spell slot. So, slot, first level spell slot, scale is 50 feet, ship size, craft, which can include ranged siege weapons. And then second rank is a 500-foot scale, or can affect ships that are vessels. And we know that craft are up to 50 feet in size, like anywhere from 10 to 50 feet in size, while vessels typically are anywhere from 100 to 500 feet in size. Hence the 500-foot scale, and craft the 50-foot scale. So, for example, amplifying a third level spell to the 500-foot scale can be cast with a 5th level spell slot by upcasting it from 3rd to 5th with a 2nd level spell slot. Or you can spend an additional 2nd level spell slot, a 3rd level spell plus a 2nd level spell slot, or 2 first spell slots. So a 3rd level spell slot, 1st level spell slot, 1st level spell slot. If you're using spell points like I use, and you're using the smart system like the color mana system or universal spell points, which are in the bundles linked down below, it would be a 3rd level spell and a 2nd level kicker. It would be a total of 5 spell points that you spend to amplify your spell. This also works with sorcery points, where you can spend 1 sorcery point to increase the scale to by 1 slot, or 2 sorcery points to 2 slots. So it's actually more efficient for you to have a stack of sorcery points that you're just using on the fly to upscale spells, instead of converting sorcery points into spell slots, which costs 2 for first and 3 for second. Fuck you, wizards. It's stupid. They make no sense, sirs. So once you amplify a spell, what does it do? You've got range. It talks about increasing the range of something from a 5 foot, like a 30-foot radius becomes a 300-foot radius, becomes a 3,000-foot radius, depending on what scale you're working inside of. Pretty straightforward. So we are now going to consider what sort of an illustration we want to have on this page. We have the freedom and ability to just pick up EA. There's still something really, really wonky going on. I'm going to actually close out of Photoshop altogether and relaunch it to find out if that fixes my selection process issue. Huh. It's only adding. Why are you only adding? There's no weird keys going on. Oh, there we go. It's because I had, this was add, this is subtract. There. Got it, and this is separate, so I could do that, and then, no, okay. Okay, cool, I got my shit squared away. So, like, if I need to, in this illustration process, I could grab this text and just arbitrarily decide just to drag it down the page, right? I could do that if I wanted to, and open up a space here instead if I choose. It's not preset where things are going to sit on the page. It's just this is where the gap is currently. So, let's doodle. That's what we came on the stream here for. We came on here to draw ships and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum now. So, let's see. Amplifying spells. Let's go with 2 pixels. Let's see. What am I doing? Well, I don't know. What kind of illustration do we want to have on this page? What do we want to do? Amplifying spells, guidance, true strike, bless, hunter's mark, enhance abilities. These are spells that can affect ability checks, which affects piloting, orrery checks, detection checks, astral tracking. There's amplified spells. We could. I don't know, we could do something like I'm starting to get into the idea of having, I'm gonna put a lock on the text, of having these okay, so there's air envelopes, right? And you normally don't see air, but sometimes air is dirty. So once the air starts to foul, you start to see it, right? And if it gets like, and if it's deadly, maybe there's actually like a visual aesthetic. But I'm really liking the idea of depicting ships with their spheres around them, as just like, you know, like we're doing here. And like maybe I mean, something simple like that. Hey, I like the idea of having these air bubbles like actually around the ship when they're being illustrated. Like, you know, you got space and shit. I'm not 100% on that, but I like the idea of just having like something. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't need my air bubbles. I think they're cool though. I like the idea of them. But something like this. We could make a thing out of that. So since we're here, let's just futz with this. So I'm going to futz with this guy. I like the idea of let's not do that yet. Yeah, I like this angle. Okay, let me go back to that. I like the angle here. Get rid of all that stuff. Hey, Dreams, how you doing? Sorry, I'm getting pings. Hey, Dreams, we're working on interior art for the page, and we're just making little sketches here in the corner. So, trying to establish some language here on how I want to sketch ships. I thought I had was 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got one leg, like one leg jutted up like that, and then we have another leg jutting down like that. potentially have. You have a third leg that acts as a pinion here. Oh my god, this stuff is fun. And that leaves 2 legs open. You got your pincers here. So you got like this, ship effect here. You got 1 leg, 2 legs, and 3 legs. So you got this. Yeah, that's the language it should be. That. One, 2, 3. Curve like that. 1, 2, 3. Neat. Don't think it's necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop all of that mess after we spent time on that. It's okay. Got here and then here. So we're going to... Yeah, let's just keep building this guy out. I need to be able to build a language here that allows me to create ships, be able to sketch and have an organic feel of the ships without having to go back and reference all of our ship tokens over and over again. I need to be able to have a light and loose style here. That's what I'm attempting to establish right now with the sketch work that we're doing. But amplified spells, you can like color spray, for instance. Let's look at 5e color spray. That's right. Roll 20s first. 15-foot cone, right? So if you amplify it with 1 spell slot, that 15-foot cone becomes a 150-foot cone, which is 3 50-foot squares. Or if you amplify it with a second rank spell slot, the scale increases to 500 feet, so that becomes a 1,500-foot cone. And so how does that work? A dazzling array of flashing color light springs from your hands. Roll 6d10. The total is how many hit points of creatures this spell can affect. Creatures in a 15-foot cone originating from you are affected in ascending order of that current hit points, ignoring unconscious creatures, starting with the creature that has the lowest current hit points. Each creature affected by this spell is blinded until the end of your next turn. Subtract each creature's hit points from the total before moving on to the creature with the next lowest hit points. A creature hit points must be equal to or less than the remaining total. So if you were to color spray an entire ship, it would still only be affecting that 6d10 worth of hit points, but it would be affecting a larger area. So, like for instance, commoners that are enslaved by Neogi have 4 hit points each. So if you hit a ship with color spray, and everyone has complete cover because they're inside the ship, they're not going to be affected by it. which means that if there's no one on deck, there's everyone inside. The only thing left to target is the ship. And so that would default then to whoever's piloting the ship. And then let's go to the next page here. Single target effects, area of effects, spells that require a surface can't be cast. It looks like we're going to do an entangle spell. Objects flying above a target, targeting siege crews. Siege crews under command don't have specific individual actions. Let's see. While spells can deal damage to ships, other effects that normally target one creature affect the ship first, the pilot second, and if there is no pilot, then a random creature focusing on an orrery or arcane cannon aboard the ship is targeted, or the spell has no effect. For example, an invisibility spell amplified to target a ship will affect the ship and all on board. A slow spell reduces the speed of the ship to half, and the pilot must choose between actions and bonus actions if the saving throw fails. So in this color spray instance, since the ship itself can't be affected, its hit point capacity is too high. That has to be skipped. You only do 6d10 worth of hit points to be affected by color spray. And since most ship, like a Nyogi ship, for instance, has 400 hit points, it's not going to be affected by color spray. It exceeds the capacity of the spell. But the pilot on board the ship, say, I don't know, like if the pilot has 40 hit points, and say you've got 55 hit points worth of stuff, then the pilot will be affected, and there's 15 hit points left over. You can then, the DM can then decide, in this instance, is there somebody supporting the pilot on an orrery station, or is there somebody on an arcane cannon that is focusing and attuned to the ship that then has to take on the effects of the ship because they're attuned to it. If you attune to the ship and you can take command of it and navigate it as though it were your own body, it goes with all the bad news that goes along with the coolness of that. So that color spray spell, even though the ship is beyond capacity, will hit the ship. That affects the pilot first. If there's any hit points left over, you can start hitting other people in the area. If all the ship and the crew have cover and full cover so you can't directly target them, then they can't be targeted by this color spray at all. But like on an open deck plan, like a lamprey ship, for instance, that has an open deck for all the weapons, all that crew on that deck are going to be affected. That actually might be a better... Thank you for walking through this with me, because actually a Night Spider is probably not the best to illustrate here. Actually, a lamprey might be a better ship to illustrate here because it has an open floor plan. So let's go with... Now, can I do this? Can I do this cooler? Now that I have the gist of what it is that we're trying to do here, we're going to basically be doing a cone area of effect from one ship to affect another ship. We need to think about our bits. So let's see. You can have... Maybe it would be beneficial for me to open our sidebar here. And extract these things as separate bits. So I'm going to... God, I wish there was a smart place to put this. I don't even know what that looks like on our... Yeah, okay. Skiff, and we can open vessels. This should be more of an ideation stream instead of an actual mechanical, like actual full illustration form. We're going to need to go through the whole book to lay down the initial sketches for what each illustration to be, and then feed in from there. So let's go find the lamprey. Scoot you out of the way. Something like this. Rough sketch. There you go. super shitty rough sketch. Like that is not a full illustration. But that's the kind of spot illustrations we can do. So let's go back to and I can break through my formatting walls here. Like the gutter doesn't need to mean anything. The margins here doesn't need to mean anything. But this happens to just exploit the gaps that are in this picture. So I'm actually really happy with this. So I'm going to take this here and I'm going to free transform. Drop this down a bit. And lamprey happened to be 3x3, so a 15. Like you could upcast this to a 15. It's a 15-foot cone. If you upscale it to by one spell slot, it's now a 150-foot cone, which happens to be in this instance the size of the lamprey ship. So you could upcast this one spell slot and hit the entire ship with that color spray and then go through that process. Since there's people that are on deck, because the lamprey is an open floor plan, all the crew that are on the deck, all these, everyone that's on deck here can be hit by this color spray and they'd all be blinded. So if you blind the crew of a siege of a siege machine, you're now firing with disadvantage because they can't see. So, good strategy. That's a good use of a first level spell. That's a first level spell. That's a decent spell to amplify, because if you can blind the crew of everybody, then you have to wait for that effect to wear off, and they're going to rely on the verbal commands of the commander only to be able to, shift right 13 degrees. It's like, good luck with that, guy. Anyway, so that's a sketch, and I think I actually like that sketch a lot. So it's I literally don't know. Oh, yeah, air bubble. Yeah, don't know about the air bubbles yet. Not 100% on those. But I'm not going to get rid of them. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of them. Let's just trim down. Trash. Come on, my dude. Trash. So that's page 1. And now page 2. Same process. Put a lock there. All right, so page 2. What are we looking at? Let's get this thing out of the way. Area of effect, amplifying a spell with one additional spell slot increases the range to 50-foot scale, 2 to 500-foot scale. If the area is a spell, description is 5 feet wide, 60-foot line, say 12 5-foot squares. Amplifying the spell with one additional spell slot increases the area of effect, all targets in a 50-foot wide, 600-foot line. 12 50-foot squares as opposed to 12 5-foot squares. Amplifying the spell, 2 additional spell slots, blah. So, okay, great. So in the illustration to the right, an entangle spell amplified with a second level spell slot affects a 2,000-foot area, 4x4 space in a 500-foot scale. A 200-foot star moth that is within the area of spell has its top deck or underside targeted, the caster decides. If the only object within the area is a 200-foot star moth, only the 200-foot space, 4x4 at the 50-foot scale of the vessel occupied is affected. The following round, another ship entering the 2,000-foot space at another point, but spell doesn't drag. Oh, there's a typo there. The following round, another ship enters the 2,000-foot space at another point, but the spell doesn't affect empty space, so any object entering that space after the spell is cast is unaffected. But if it enters the space of the Star Moth, it is affected as the spell describes. I need to clean that up. But what are we trying to depict here? So maybe that needs to be worded differently. 2,000-foot area affects a 200-foot. I wonder if that can be explained better. Amplifying the spell with 2 additional spell slots. For example, the Entangle spell must be cast on the ground, including either the top deck or the underside of a ship. Spells that require a surface, oh, that's what we're trying to say there. So spells that require a surface can't be cast unless there's a surface to cast upon. The space occupied by each object within range is targeted along its current gravity plane, which determines which direction the effect is oriented, but the space between objects is not. For instance, the Entangle spell must be cast on the ground, including either the top decks or the underside of a ship. In the illustration to the right, an Entangled spell amplified with a second level spell slot affects a 2,000-foot area, or 500-foot square scale. So a 200-foot Star Moth that is within the area of the spell has its top deck or underside targeted. If only the object within the area is a 200-foot Star Moth, only the 200-foot space the vessel occupies is affected. I could probably remove some of that language and make it cleaner. The following round, another ship enters the 2,000-foot space at another point, but the spell doesn't affect empty space. So any object entering that space after the spell is cast is unaffected. I need to separate those. There's too much. All right, well, hey, that's why we do this stuff. We can embarrass ourselves on a public screen to help guarantee that we go back and fix it. So that's what we're doing currently. We're in the process of embarrassing ourselves. So let's there. These are all the things that we had to change about our formatting as we went through here because we found inconsistencies. To do. I do need to build consistent language for the spell amplifier language. There's some tweaks I need to make. Obviously, this is one of them. Let's say revise AOE description to be less buddy. Ish. So. God, look at that. The thing is literally stalling. What the fuck? Microsoft is pissed that that I've delayed my restart. I can tell. Maybe this is an instance where I actually want to use a ship deck. Maybe not an actual illustration, but the ship deck itself. Oh, it's because I have these 3 files open. It's eating up 3 times the normal bandwidth that I would use. So, yeah, this is actually a pretty heavy chug for this guy. That's awesome. I've got 32 RAM in this computer, and it's an Asus 2600 graphics card and a P9, or sorry, an Intel 9 generation processor, and it's still choking on processing power. That is a little ridiculous, honestly. It's a monster. It's a pretty good monster of a computer. Bong. I love how small these things are. It's so fun. Let's go with transform selection. Yeah, you know, I think I like spheres better. So the entangle spell here is affecting the area that the ship is inside of. The ship is outside of the area that the Star Moth occupies. It is unaffected. It enters the space of the Star Moth, and now it is affected by the entangle spell that is on the ship. What is the right way to word that? No. Yes. Yes. That's horrible. That is the worst way to word that in the world. What is going to make this project slow down is me not knowing how to fucking word things. Like, we're creating... I've never depicted language and stuff like this before, so I don't know the proper way to do it. But so far, I'm happy with this conceptually. Drop that to the background there, and probably making this... blue or something like that, you know. Anyway, what's the right way to do this? I honestly don't know. Let's go with an entangled spell amplified with a second level spell slot affects a 2,000-foot area. A 200-foot Star Moth that is within the area of the spell has its top or underside entangled, the caster decides. If the only object within the area is a 200-foot Star Moth, only the 200-foot space the vessel occupies is affected. 1. The following round, another ship enters the 2,000-foot space at another point. 2. But the spell doesn't affect empty space, so any object entering... So any object entering that space after the spell is cast is unaffected. But if it enters the space of the Star Moth, it is affected as the spell describes. 3. Oh, and I have 2 there. So great. This is so we can go 1, 2, 3. That's how we can break this thing up into a better word chunks. Yeah, we got to fix that. We're going to fix it. But that's enough of a sketch for now, quote unquote sketch. So, but that's the strength of having these tokens already produced. We can use the tokens as diagrams and example imagery, such as this. So, anyway, so let's see. What are we talking about on this page? Hopefully, I don't mind, and I'm not embarrassed about finding mistakes like this as we go through the process. One of the strengths of actually dropping the text in here and illustrating stuff like that is we get to find little flaws like that in the language and actually go and fix it before it gets published, and then have someone throw in a comment that says, hey, this paragraph doesn't make any sense. What are you trying to do here? And then we got to put egg on our face, fix it, and then tell everyone that we fixed it. Well, we could just fix it now. So that's what we get to do. Duration. An amplified spell that requires concentration also requires maintaining focus on an amplifier. Losing focus ends the spell, similar to losing concentration. Amplifying creature spellcasting. Creatures that can cast spells or have similar abilities but no spell slots can amplify spells as a rechargeable ability. After amplifying an ability, you cannot use the ability again until it has recharged. At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6 and add the creature's rank. If the result meets or exceeds the recharge target number, the ability can be used again. When a creature amplifies an ability at the 50-foot scale, the target number is 5. When a creature amplifies an ability to the 500-foot scale, the target number is 6. For example, Beholder is a 4th rank creature. We have crew ranking and stuff in the combat chapter before this, so the reader will already know that a CR10 Beholder is a 4th rank creature. So when it uses its Eye Stalk cannon, as described in the weapons and crew section above, to amplify a fear ray to the 500-foot scale at the beginning of its next turn, it rolls a d6 plus 4 for its rank. If the result is 6 or more, the Beholder can use the slow ray. That's supposed to... Oh my god. I'm fired for having so many fucking flaws. Let's just go here and fix this one now that we're looking at it, so we can get rid of that. That is not on our editor. That's not his fault. I went through and changed the description on this after the fact because I needed to break up the language a little bit better. But in that effect, I fuckered up. There we go. The Beholder can use there. We fixed that already. So Beholder, yeah, there you go. So damage from spells that require a spell attack roll or saving throw, or that deal damage to an area of effect, does not increase damage when amplified. For example, amplifying a fireball to the 50-foot scale can target up to 1,500 feet away, affecting all creatures in a 200-foot radius, but the damage remains 8d6, or half as much damage on a successful save. This affects any ship weapons, ships, and other types of creatures without total cover in the area. The ship rolls section above detail pilots and commanders taking area damage for siege weapons, squadrons, and crews. Many ships provide full cover for crew under deck. Many ships provide full cover for crew under deck, though siege crews and other creatures on deck must all roll a saving throw as well. And then weapon attack damage. Damage that is added to a weapon attack can be cast on siege or mounted weapons, but not squadrons. Siege and mounted weapons can deal additional normal damage as per the spell description without amplifying the spell. For example, a paladin piloting a vessel dealing 1d6 times 10 melee weapon damage that uses Divine Smite with a second level spell slot deals an additional 3d8 radiant damage. Let's see. For example, a paladin piloting a vessel, melee damage spells. There we go. Oh, got it. Okay, great. Right. So, for example, a paladin piloting a vessel dealing 1d6 times 10 melee weapon damage that uses Divine Smite with a second level spell slot deals an additional 3d8 radiant damage as normal. Spells affected with a first level spell slot can use siege weapons. The additional damage from the spell is multiplied by 10. For example, a paladin using Divine Smite with a second level spell slot during a melee siege weapon attack that deals 1d6 times 10 damage can amplify the spell by spending an additional first level spell slot, dealing an additional 3d8 times 10 radiant damage to a hit to the target ship. And then damage. Spells that increase the movement speed of the target affects the number of squares that can be moved during turn, but doesn't affect the maximum speed. Why do I have that? Oh my god. What the fuck is going on? That should clearly say movement. Spells that affect increase movement. This is why we do this. How embarrassing. 8:18. I gotta bounce here in a few minutes. Okay, cool. Bloody, 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 blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So, fix that. Spells that increase the movement speed of the target affects the number of squares that can be moved during combat, but doesn't affect the maximum speed while traveling between worlds outside of combat. I should probably put in an example there. Let's, an example of movement. It's not Adam's fault if I make changes or rearrange text and then have to add things after he's done editing it. I need to have him sweep it again. But we'll take care of it for now. Let's see. Rip. I think the best thing to have in this instance maybe we want to, what do we want to do? How do we want to do this? Okay, so this is the space that we have to work in. Regardless of that edit I need to make over there. This still stays true. And honestly, amplifying creature spellcasting sounds more interesting than anything else. Damage from a spell. That's so technical. There's not much visuals that go along with that. So yeah, let's do this. We have a beholder. How do I want to depict this? I want to. Okay, so I'm trying to. Well, I can just do a beholder ship, a tyrant ship. I don't necessarily need to depict the beholder inside the tyrant ship. I just need to have the tyrant ship firing death rays. So that'll work. Let's flip that. Oh my god, slow would actually... Slow would actually be a really good spell to use here instead of fear. My previous... Yeah, we might have to do that. There we go. Shitty sketches for now. All we're really trying to do is just establish what spaces it fill and what will I have to come back through and clean up to be a more technical illustration. But for now, we've got a wasp being hit by a beholder tyrant ship. So there we go. We should actually an example of movement. Switch beholder amplifier to slow ray for consistency. Because then we can use the language for slow. We have the movement. We need an example for movement, so we can add slow. And we already have single target effects. A slow spell reduces the speed of the ship to half. The pilot must choose between action or bonus action if the saving throw fails. So we're already referencing slow here. We don't need to introduce fear as a third concept. We can retain slow. A slow ray. So slow is the right answer. Slow. And since we're targeting a vessel, it has to amplify to the 500-foot scale to affect the ship, because the ship occupies a 500-foot space, because it's not a craft. Craft only occupy 50-foot spaces. Boy. Coolio. All right. So now that we got through all that crap, we can actually go into spells worth noting. While amplifying generally applies to all spells, the following spells have unique attributes worth noting that can be used as guidelines for other spells. Blade Ward normally is a pretty shitty cantrip to use, but if you have characters that... I love this. So you have a pilot that's focusing on the spell on the helm, and then you have siege commanders, which are overseeing the firing of siege weapons like catapults and mangonels and stuff like that. While aboard the ship, and then you have squadron commanders, which only apply if you have more than one ship, but it is basically the same role as a siege commander, just commanding ships instead of individual weapons. But then you have the fourth role, which is the support, and the support character attunes and maintains focus with an orrery station, which basically has the same. It's while a spell jamming helm imbues the user to basically animate the ship and act as though they are a ship. Somebody that is attuned and focusing on an orrery station that uses like an orrery. In Spelljammer, these things called orreries, which are little magical devices, which are basically like little tracking GPS devices that show you where large planetary bodies are inside of a system. But the mechanics that we use for exploration is if you take that orrery and you mount it into a mounted, if you affix it to a mounted magic item, an orrery station, it then imbues that little magical tracking device. It imbues the entire ship with that ability, so it basically becomes magic eyes. that you can scry and see things at a great distance around your ship. So if you're attuned to an Ori, and this is explained in the equipment section up at the beginning of the book. So if you have somebody that's in an Ori station on the ship, they become your eyes. The pilot on the ship also has eyes, but can also move the ship and attack with it, feel for things, basically acts as though they are the ship. But then anyone that's attuned to an Ori also then has eyes. So you can use, while you're attuned, you can cast through the Spelljamming Helm or through an Ori station, or if you have an Arcane Cannon, you can use that too. All three of those magical devices on your ship can be used to cast these amplified spells. And anyone that's casting a... sorry, I think we had it here just a second ago. We didn't spell it out specifically, but self-targeting effects. Spells with ranges of self can target the ship of any spellcaster focusing on an amplifier aboard the ship. Multiple spellcasters can maintain concentration on separate spells affecting the ship or pilot while focusing on an amplifier. That should be lowercase. That wasn't grammatic. That was an error on myself, not catching that. Cool. When I rearrange the text and I do line breaks here to be able to fit the formatting, sometimes a word decides to capitalize things at the end of statements, and I'm continuously catching those things. So another benefit of doing artwork is having this third wave of edits, like we've been discovering here just today. But Blade Ward becomes a really fucking great spell, because if your support characters aren't doing anything else, and they happen to have the blade, it's a cantrip, so they can pick it up with a feat if they're not already a spellcaster. But casting Blade Ward, if you cast on yourself or a pilot, you can cast on a pilot, and that pilot becomes resistant to damage. If you cast on a craft, the craft becomes resistant to that damage. And if you use 2 spell slots as a cantrip, you can amplify it with 2 spell slots. It affects a vessel. And that effectively makes it resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which are the only types of damage that siege weapons normally deal. So your pilot could be using Blade Ward, but the pilot is going to want to use their action and bonus action to make attacks, make movement, and basically have melee combat with other ships. It's the support character that effectively becomes the ship while they're focusing on the Ori, can cast Blade Ward. It's a self-only targeting spell, but while focusing on the through the Ori, you can cast Blade Ward and affect the entire ship. And the pilot could cast, if they wanted to, Blade Ward on themselves. So when the ship gets hit and takes damage, the pilot chooses how much of that damage are they themselves going to take, and how much of the damage is going to be applied to the ship. If your support character has a Blade Ward on the ship, and the pilot has a Blade Ward on themselves, the pilot could choose to take a lot of that damage, could choose to take, say, 30 points of damage for the ship, and has Blade Ward, so that gets reduced to 15 points. Say it was 80 points of damage total that the ship was going to take. You now have Blade Ward on the ship as well, so you just took 30 points off, the pilot takes 15 of it, that leaves 50 points left to your ship. That's Blade Ward, it gets reduced to 25. And you have damage reduction on the ships. It's like, say it's a Star Moth has a damage reduction of 10. So that 50 damage gets dropped to 25, damage reduction drops to 15. Your 400 hit point Star Moth, just instead of taking 80 points of damage, took 15 points of damage, but your pilot also took 15 points of damage. Your pilot can only take so much of that stuff before you have to spend a spell slot or whatever to be able to heal up the character. And repairs take too long to be able to affect ships in combat. So at some point you're making those decisions. Am I going to let my ship take the damage, or am I going to let my pilot take the damage? What things do we have active on us that's going to reduce the amount of damage that we're taking? How bold can we afford to be in this combat if we're fighting a Theurgy that's got a mangonel and 3 ballistas that's going to be doing, on average, ballistas do D4 times 10 damage, mangonels do D6 times 10 damage. If all 4 of those things are hitting you in a round, that's going to be 90 points of damage that you're taking each barrage like that. There's rules about how quickly a Theurgy ship can basically do that once per round. So you could, on average, be taking 90 damage, but it could be anywhere from 40 to 180 damage per hit, depending on what kind of damage they're actually dealing. So having little spells like this in D&D at the 5-foot scale is a stupid idea. Like Blade Ward is like a universally bad spell to use in combat in D&D because it eats it eats the action to have a spell affect you for a round. Hold on, let's just go take a look at that real quick, and then this will be the last thing we do today. So 5e Blade Ward. Or, you know, since that's all garbage, we can just go here and go Blade Ward. There. Casting time 1 action. So it takes a standard action to cast it. So a pilot's absolutely not going to want to do that because he's either going to want to dash or attack. Possibly hide, disengage, dodge, defend, deflect. There's a lot of shit that a pilot could be doing other than casting Blade Ward. You extend your hand and trace a sigil in the air. Until the end of your next turn, you have resistance against these attacks. So it's a horrible idea for your pilot to cast it, just like it'd be a horrible idea for your Gish to do that while you're fighting an ogre at the 5-foot scale. But your orrery is basically a support character. Like the role implies, support role. Your character, that support character is there specifically to do shit like this. To protect the ship, to amp up the spellcasters, to amp up your siege crew, to amp up your movement of your ship, to be able to do all these things. So anyway, that's the thought behind that. So, but when we come back, we're going to look at the rest of the spells that are on this page, so that we can decide which spell do we want to be in this empty space. And so the rest of the document is spell descriptions, just like that. So we have a strip down here. We might just leave this as empty space, and if we do, so be it. If not, if we think of a cool illustration we could drop down there, we'll do it. Same thing with here. We've got a gap down here that we could potentially put an illustration in. More spells, more spells, more spells. So when we come back, and we won't be back until Tuesday. So when we come back on Tuesday, we will begin the process of filling in, going over each of these spells just to take a look at them, let me geek out over them a little bit, and then start filling in an illustration on the one that we like the most. So this is the process, this is the job, this is what we're doing. Great for us. We found some revisions, some mistakes in our text. Let's close this stuff out. Equals no, equals no. So we're going to be doing this for however fucking long it takes to do it, but this is what we're doing. So I'm hating how long it takes to do this before the thing can get released. But I'm hoping for an August release schedule. So let's by grace, there we go. Thanks a lot for showing up, guys. Like and subscribe. I do this Monday through Friday, except I'm on vacation tomorrow and on Monday. So we'll be back Tuesday through Friday next week doing this type of stuff. Typically on Mondays and Thursday nights, we do cartography with Eberron. And then on Tuesdays, during lunchtime, we do development stream for Martial Powers system, which once Martial Powers publishes, we'll be able to build a book of Spelljammer powers to use all the powers that are in the Martial Powers book and provide amplification rules for that, so that your pilots can use martial powers while piloting ships, to have both of those books fold together and work together. I'm really excited about that. It's a ton of work, but it's worth it's worth the effort. So yeah, thanks a lot for being on board, guys. I'll see you guys. I'm on vacation. Hey, so I will see you guys Tuesday morning. Cheers.